Hi, I'm Pratim Ranjan Bose, and you're watching Podcast with Pratim, presented by Iravati Research and Communication Center, or IRCC. Today is Republic Day in India. President Donald Trump took his seat in the World Oval Office on January 20, and since then, he has taken a host of executive orders. We will try to analyze parts of them in this episode. I have with me retired Ambassador Sri Anil Trigunayat. Welcome to you, sir.
Namaskar, Pratim ji.
Sir, a host of decisions, starting from ending the citizenship by birth to emergency on Mexico border, pause on foreign aid, accepting in Israel and Egypt, protecting the US from foreign terrorists, arming Israel with 2,000-pound bombs, sending warning to Ukraine, crackdown on illegal immigrants, exit from 2015 Paris Climate Pact, etc. Which are the top 5 decisions to your mind? Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Pratim ji. It is something very difficult to decipher. But I think that good thing about President Trump is that he treats the friends and foes alike, and the good thing is that he is anti-war. And that is very important in today's time and age. I have tried to describe him in 4 Ds. The first one, I think, is everybody agrees that he's a disruptor. Secondly, very often what he does defies the logic. Thirdly, he is dead against the deep state in his country. And fourthly, he treats himself like a deal maker. And if you add the fifth, which is most important in today's time and age, is that he doesn't like wars. And he has said it in many times. Even before being elected, during his campaign, he's been mentioning that had he been there, there would be no war. And I believe it. It was possible not to have a war. It happened because we have seen the Russia and NATO coming against each other in this, and that has continued to create havoc there. Likewise, there have been many other statements that he made by Rubio yesterday, for example, day for yesterday, when he said to Chinese people or his counterparts that we are not for independence of Taiwan. That's a very major change. That a peaceful, no change in status quo, but a peaceful way of doing it would be good. That means giving China some kind of a fig leaf. And then you see the presence of the Chinese vice president, invitation to president of China to join. I mean, those are things that indicate, and on top of it, the extension to TikTok, which indicates that although Sino-US trade war is very likely, will continue because President Trump thinks at the end of the day, it is the tariffs that will provide him the necessary negotiating leverage. So, in my view, the important thing, what he has done is was expected of him. It is not something that he did out of the ordinary. Number one, he stopped assistance to Ukraine and all the countries and tried to review that is in 90 days time. And this 90 days is also driven by the kind of economic downturn that uh, the uh, the Americans are facing at the moment. And at the same time, he told the Russians also. So he wants to bring them on the table. There is a formula that is going around. And if uh, Ukraine and Russians agree to it, we might see some kind of a movement of whether it will be a Cold War, freeze war frozen, or it will be some kind of a resolution remains to be seen, and on what conditions. That is very, very important. Now, number two is I would suggest that on the immigration front, he is dead against the illegal immigration. And therefore, what you mentioned is the creating wall, what happened to Mexico, and other things. He has been telling about these for quite some time. And he believes that there are no free rides or free lunches. Everybody got to pay for it. And therefore, if you are going to have NATO wants American security, they need to pay for it. That means about 5% of their GDP is being asked from them. That's important. And thirdly, as far as the legal immigration is concerned, I think he has changed his position slightly. He is not against the H-1B visas or the best talents coming into it because he's surrounded by people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and others who are basically who are the tech giants who are going to work on it. Lastly, I think that his focus on making America's techno supremacy is something very important. Like he signed for the $500 billion project with all the major companies in the AI and other sectors, which clearly shows that in this geotechnological contestation that is happening, USA wants to retain its edge. And so these are some of the important initiatives. But as I mentioned, that he doesn't discriminate between friends and foes. So I would say that he has, as far as his stick of tariffs is concerned, that may be available to everyone.
Right. In fact, I was curious about, yes, 500 billion investment in AI infrastructure to make America the AI tech giant. Quite plausible. Technology is the age for America. But say, for example, Saudi Arabia promised $600 billion investment in 4 years. Now, do you think these are feasible? Uh, I mean, it will happen, right?
Yes, yeah, it is happening because see the petrodollars. If you remember in 1970s, when United States removed the backing of the dollar as a reserve currency by the gold, it was the petrodollars essentially that sustained it. But in recent years, what we have seen is that more and more of these countries, thinking that the United States was moving out of the region, probably started diversifying their approaches in different countries in accordance with their active policy. But since Trump is looking to garner more and more investments into the country, Saudi Arabia, which happens to be one of their biggest arms importer, which happens to be one of the biggest partners actually in the Arab world, and who they want to be a part of the Abraham Accords so that Israel's security is in that sense complete. Now, this $600 billion, because see, they have the trillions of dollars in their sovereign wealth funds, and they can invest in the United States. They have been investing in the United States for a very, very long time. And I think this was a carrot that the Saudi Arabia has extended in response to Trump's meeting and talks with Mohammed bin Salman.
Okay. Sir, now, closer home, one is from the Indian context. There had been a lot of worries about this repatriation of illegal immigrants. I don't know what is your opinion is about it, but I think it had to come someday or the other. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, Indian nationals, whoever is the Indian national or citizen, is our responsibility. I mean, we evacuate them from conflict zones. We provide them during the pandemic, and all the times we bring them back. Mostly, they are all legal immigrants. So there is no problem as far as legal immigrants are concerned. I don't think there's going to be any problem in the United States, except that they might change some terms of their employment, like their parents used to get the visas, that might be restricted. There could be for the children born there for the Indians will not get the U.S. citizenship automatically, although it's under constitutional right of the person, but it's sub judice at the moment. So those are some problems that will happen. But India is the largest beneficiary of the H-1B visa program for technical people. I mean, so migration and mobility is also India's main concern, and it is all generally being incorporated and separately signed with more and more Western countries. So, if you are going to promote illegal migration, then you have to be mindful that illegal migration is something that we don't like it, we won't promote it. And if at all somebody has been able to go to those countries, illegally. And if his credentials are established as an Indian citizens, we are ready to get them back. And I think they will come back.
Okay. So about this act to protecting US from foreign terrorists, it is being labeled as, many are expecting it to be a major tool in the hands of the US in denying visa to a specific lot of countries which are hobnobbing or creating some kind of breeding ground for terrorists. What is your expectation on this front? Is it going to be something big?
Well, I think that he knows about it. Number one is the drug peddling and the smuggling is a reality in the United States, especially from Latin America, from Mexico, and other places. So he's definitely trying to go after the cartels. And those drug cartels are being designated in the Aliens Act as the, terrorist, or so they can go after them. At the same time, we also know that the narcotics plays a very important role in promoting terrorism and extremism and radicalism. And so, therefore, it is very important that Trump takes has taken this initiative, which is not bad actually in that sense. But it will depend on how it is being used and how it will be used, essentially. But this is something that he has been talking about it, and he has done it. In fact, if you come to think of it, every single executive order that is issued has, in fact, been already talked about by him. Some are controversial,
Right.
some may be constitutionally not viable, some may be legally unviable, but then that remains to be seen. On his part, as a politician, he has done it for him. MAGA, MAWA, make America great again and make America work again, America first. Those are the primary considerations.
Right, right. In fact, his decision to get out of climate pact and scrapping the EV mandate of the Biden administration, I see some kind of, I should say, it's good for us in the sense, it was unnecessarily forcing us to move at a pace which is not sustainable. We must move towards more sustainable future, but of course that pace has to be it has to be durable. You just cannot risk your finances. They were blocking finances for coal projects, etc., etc. So I believe some kind of change is going to happen on that front, and that is better. In any case, Europe had already moved away practically during the COVID. So, uh, sir, in Bangladesh, USAID has suspended as part of that suspension of aid. So they suspended their activities with effect from January 25. I believe that will be the case in many of the smaller nations in the region, Nepal, Myanmar, etc. So how do you look at it?
Well, and the first,
US had been the biggest spender, but practically the only spender for the Rohingyas. And
yes.
they were also the agency which was EU was making some contribution, but it was US was handling it.
Yes. In fact, to your first question about his opting out of the climate change and, of course, opting out of the World Health Organization as well, I mean, that is definitely a big setback for multilateral institutions and the fight against climate change. There is no doubt about it. As far as EV mandate, like he is saying now, drill baby drill, means more and more drilling will be done in Alaska and other places. He's trying to get the Greenland and all other places. He'll continue to increase and make the Americans as the biggest, already I think they are the biggest producers of oil, crude and shale gas and others. So they want to compete all over the world. And I heard in one of the conferences in UAE that Chinese might be interested in buying the American oil to offset their trade differences. So this is something that they have an immediate strength which they want to capitalize on it. As far as the EV mandate is concerned, and us are concerned, we have already met nearly every single target. which we had undertaken under the COP mechanisms of the Paris Agreement. So we are far more advanced. We have also engineered this International Solar Alliance, the Global Biofuel Alliance, and we are ourselves going towards the renewables in a big way. So at the end of the day, eventually, I mean, Trump is there for 4 years, and we don't know who will be there after that. But there are going to be these real challenges with regard to the deteriorating climate change that is taking place, which is an existential threat for everyone. So I think that even sooner or later, one has to look at it in a larger context of survival of the human race and not in shorter term. So let's see what happens. As far as India is concerned, I think we have set 2030 as the target for EV, more and more EVs, but that depends a lot on the infrastructure available for that and India's road conditions and others. So there are so many other ifs and buts, but we are going ahead with our renewable program. But it's also a reality that we'll, in my view, that at least we will have to be dependent on the fossil fuels for 40, 50 years to come.
Actually,
If we have,
what was happening in that push was, I think that was the primary. China was becoming the basic beneficiary of the whole thing, and and they had a critical advantage insofar as control over the critical minerals are concerned, and etc. So we needed some time gap to organize our homes, to have the control over critical element minerals.
yes, yes, absolutely. You are right, absolutely. But then this is also a question. You see, Chinese are in a race for technology. They will find a way, and they have done a surplus EV. You can imagine. I mean, the Europeans got scared that they will take over the market access. Now they are manufacturing. They'll start manufacturing in USA. Tesla itself has been involved in this with Elon Musk today, and he knows how to deal with the Chinese and how to collaborate. He himself is dependent on that. So we'll have to see how it eventually the geo-economic competition plays out. To your next other question about the funding for Rohingyas and for Bangladesh and others, I think it's they basically wanted to not exclude just to show that it is only we have done it against Ukraine, and they of course they have exempted Israel out of that. But I believe that this was just to kind of convey a message that in next 3 months we are going to resolve this issue. Eventually, Bangladesh is important for the US policy in recent times, as we have seen, and they would probably resume their support in due course of time, or will find some other way to make the funds under USAID or whatever. So that could possibly happen. But definitely, for the time being, his priority is remaining the ending of the two wars.
Yeah. Sir, last question. During the Biden era, two major acts, US passed two major acts in this region, pertaining to this region. One was Resolve Tibet Act, July 2024. The other one was passed before that, the Burma Act. Now, these two acts are actually, so the US is just straight away not poking its nose, it's straight away claiming its control over the situations. Now, do you think that the Biden administration will have any different view? And it had given tremendous power to the State Department or the deep state.
Well, one thing as I mentioned in the beginning, that Trump is against the deep state and he is trying to dismantle it. And that is why he has created this new department with DOGE, as they call it, government efficiency, with Elon Musk on the head of it. But the foreign policy, the way his own team is there with Rubio and the Mike Cards and others. So I believe that they will definitely like to continue to take leverage which has been given to, because these have not been rescinded as yet, these two acts. So therefore, they'll continue to use it whenever they find it useful. And this is in the nature of superpowers or hyperpower. They would use it to their advantage in various situations, and we'll have to continue to face a certain kind of unilateralism from the United States, irrespective of Biden or Trump being in power.
Okay. How do you expect? Let us just wind up this discussion. How do you expect Trump? What kind of decisions may come up next? I believe more softer activities or things we will see. Before vacating the seat, the Biden administration had apparently created some trouble for Mr. Trump. They have put in, I mean, say in Bangladesh, they have put in acting non-political mission head. There are many things that was created. So how do you see the next course of action?
Well, first thing is that in the US, they follow something called a spoil system, in which every winner, whoever is the president, rewards very large number of people who have been supporting him politically or funding him. So therefore, they change their ambassadors very frequently. I mean, the Indian ambassador, the U.S. ambassador in Delhi, also his term was coterminous with that of President Biden, January 20th. So it happens, and this is something that they will continue to do. So I think that what he has done is he's already uh, revised the various of the decisions taken by Biden administration in many ways, including getting out of the Paris Agreement. You remember the first time also he had done so, but
Yes.
this time he's additionally gone against the WHO as well, which he was threatening last time, but he has gone ahead. So multilateralism is going to come under more, I would say, pressure from the Trump. And he will use every single stick to prove within next year, 2026, basically, when they complete 250 years, to show that his policies have focused, whether it is immigration, whether it is tariffs, on making America great again and to bring more companies into the United States back, and so that the greater manufacturing can be done, technological advancements can be done. So I think that he is how far he will be successful remains to be seen. But from the point of view now, if you see in last 1 week or so, what has been done is quite remarkable. May not agree with many things, but India will also continue to face some music. But at the same time, I think the meeting with the Dr. Jaishankar was the first meeting with the Foreign Secretary or the Secretary of State, and the first meeting of the Quad, and his visit to India for the Quad summit. They augur rather well for our relationship. Some issues we might face with regard to opening market access and tariffs, some immigration issues. But broadly, I think our technological cooperation, our defense collaboration and cooperation will continue. Only thing is, you will have to put in more meat every time that you want something from them.
So I believe we will get the GE engines and all those things which were
Yes, the team has already gone there again recently, I believe so. But it'll be in their own interest to do so.
okay. When do you expect Mr. Trump to visit India? Anytime soon?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the people are saying that this, it depends on when the summit is planned. But somebody was saying, I mean, mentioning, I don't know if it's true that he might visit India and China in the first 100 days. May not be possible, but that's something we have to see. Now, we recently had the meeting of the foreign ministers. I'm quite sure at that time they would have tried to agree on some date.
Yeah, one thing is rest assured, this is going to be a period of disruptions, and with disruptions come opportunities. There are problems, but probably there will also be opportunities.
That's
Thank
true.
you, sir. Thank you for joining
Thank
this
you.
podcast from all the way from Goa and spoiling your
No,
vacation.
no, no, no. I'm sorry, I'm not properly formally dressed, but
No,
it's
thanks.
a pleasure always to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.